First ride in Colombia. Quite an experience already. It's busy, it's noisy, it's vibrant, it's colourful, and the weather's fantastic, it's really warm. Well, that was the most intense downpour I've been in quite a while, but as quick as the rain came, it's gone. And we're currently at an elevation of 2,100 meters, which is crazy. For somebody who lives at sea level, just blows my mind.
Colombia has been on my bucket list for a long time, so this was a trip of a lifetime. The country is known for many things, but most interesting to me is the cycling culture. I was excited to find out just how much this country loved cycling. And I was very fortunately extended an invite by one of the most exciting exports coming out of the country right now, Scarab Cycles. Founded just 6 years ago, this young company builds bespoke, custom steel frames with amazing paintwork that celebrates the rich culture of its homeland. So this is the home of Scarab Cycles. Let's go in, have a look around, find out more about the company and how the bikes are made, and most importantly, see my new bike for the first time. Every bike is custom made and becomes a process, a journey for the customers. But before any tubes are cut or paint tubs opened, the conversation actually starts with tyre size, something I find very relevant given how much tyre technology has evolved in the last few years. Company founder Santiago talks us through the process.
A dream bike has too many aspects to think about it, but one key thing to notice is that all of our models have been designed around a very meticulous tire selection that we think gives very specific personality and case of use for each bike. Because at the end of the day, you can be dreaming about using a bike somewhere, but are you really gonna do that dream, or are you gonna use 99% of the time that bike on your scenario? And that's where we wanna optimize it. So we help navigate that lineup in terms of tire selection. So every single model we see has a range, and then we can talk about optimization in that range. Let's say someone says, hey, I'm gonna be riding between I want a road disc bike that fits 28s and I may be trying 32s. Perfect. That puts you into two models in our lineup, which is the Letras disc and the Santa Rosa, which basically comes in two variants, which is the Santa Rosa disc brake and the Santa Rosa integrated. Those two bikes are gonna fit that specific tire range. So that already helped you put yourself in a case of use, and now it's a matter of defining which personality of bike we have. So we don't really categorize because of the sake of putting people into a place. We like to categorize because of what a tire can get, where a tire can get you. That's how we think, and how fast it can get you to a certain place. So once we have that fully understood from the customer, we're able to start offering. So for us, tires are like shoes, and they work on a lot of situations, but they excel on very few. So that's why we like to figure out exactly where you wanna be. And we work with two things in mind. One being tire range. After knowing that range, we can create a bike that handles really good, really good with 28s and 30s. And the difference between designing for the full range and designing for a specific tire is that you can get the correct wheelbase and not the broad wheelbase. You can get the specific trail for that tire size. You can get well-calculated toe overlap for that size, because those variables do affect how a bike feels on the road. And they do affect how reactive it is. They do affect how sensitive it is to turning. If you have to trace a lot that turn and correct it with your bars, or you just simply lean and that bike just goes straight where you want it. So that's the big difference between designing for a broad range and when we're able to say, hey, what's the optimal range you're gonna be using this bike with?
Once you've chosen a bike model you want to go with, I opted for the Santa Rosa integrated. You can then roll up your sleeves and get into the geometry details of the bike, and once everything is confirmed, a frame can be made.
We have, of course, the finalized bike. We don't like to call this the geometry. It's actually the bike with the components. And afterwards, we just extract a ton of information that's going to set up either the jigs, the assembly jigs, or the cutting tools, the cutting tooling for these specific processes. And that changes from customer to customer depending on the ride quality and the desired purpose of that bike, and of course the model that we're building. So everything inside this box has been labeled. Either if it's cut or uncut material, it's been labeled. And that way they can work simultaneously on different chainstays. So today is a chainstay batch. Basically, this is going to be transformed into a fully cut, tack welded frame set. That's going to be assembled in the jig. And once we have that out of the process of this, let's say, first step of the sequence, we go into what's called the welding and alignment station. First thing we get is a frame that has been tack welded. So dimensionally, it's stable. Structurally, there's no integrity at all. We make sure that every single plane of the bike is where it needs to be. Very tight tolerances here, especially because this is the start of the welding process. So we're gonna start to make it structurally stable. So once we have it fully aligned, we start basically alternating between the welding station and the alignment table. A frame can go up to 8 times between the process. There's a sequence that's actually affected. So when you're building a metal bike, specifically a steel bike here, and you start applying heat, there's going to be some pull from the material. So the welders actually have a talent of understanding, all right, if this pulled through here, my next welding sequence is going to be opposite to this, to be able to correct that. The idea here is to alter the least the amount of force that you have to build, or the tension you have to build internally to make that frame fully aligned. Because on a steel frame, if you apply enough force, the material is going to give a bit. It's not going to break, but it just gives a bit, like a pin. But you don't want that structure to keep that internal stress into it. So you want it to be super, let's say, stress-free. And that's a talent from the builders to be able to cut at super tight tolerances and weld in the right sequence so they don't have to apply any force or minimal force into it. So fully aligned frame, fully welded. We basically brace all of the bottle holders, derailleur hangers, okay, all of the little pieces that go into that. Those are silver braced. They're filed. If they were not filed before, because there's a couple that need to be added on that process, they're filed. And once they're ready to go, basically the frame starts what we call prepping process.
Of course, the most fun part of buying a custom bespoke frame is the paint. Scarab offers a wide range of choices, from those included in the price of the frame, but there are more lavish and complex finishes, and everything can be customized to your flavor and heart desire. And Scarab very much sees the paintwork as an expression of Colombia, its culture, history, diversity, a vivid way for them to share their love for Colombia.
We wanted to show Colombia, meaning there has as much information from Colombia, or the culture, the colors, what we do, the landscape, or cycling stories, or like a personal story. But every customer has a conversation, and with time we focus it on give tools to the people to understand how they can translate the ideas with this Scarab spirit, but the Colombian way. So we develop a brochure with quite broad options of colors and inspirations from what we do as a cyclist in Colombia. And then we started developing tools how to make that real. And we developed like 4 in different categories of paints or finishes. Some are pretty simple, that are based within the prices of the frame, and some are more exquisite or more, demand a little bit more of time. Every client has its own design that is very different from the other one. Even using the same tools, I mean, this is a Chiva, but you see this one, there is a Chiva as well, but just changing colors, just all the bicycle changes. We at some point decided why don't we develop like a color range that we know that it will cover all the necessities of each customer, and that way we can be more accurate every time. So if you have like your bike have an accident, I know what color you use, so I can look it up in my system. And for every customer is that. Even we send like color samples with that. We don't do any decals. We just do stencils, let's call it that way. And then when we get to the more complex designs, well, this one is like let's call it basic with a color base. But then we get into the more complex designs. Is that we open a door, a big door in Scarab is like, why don't we tell stories with the bicycles? So then we start creating special editions like the Jungle, like the Magdalena, like the Condor, like all these stories that just make connections with every person that has. For example, this one was one of the first ones. I mean, I can show you some of the ones. But this one is a Magdalena. Basically, it's the main river of Colombia, but this one has a different technique of I just was trying something more artistic with the brushes. This is kind of the same. It's a personal story of Camilo that traveled from Patagonia, just South America, and I have a couple of friends that are traveling in the Andes right now. So we wanted to show that South America is pretty like belonging, especially where we are now in Colombia. We are in the Andes. You have here like 5 or 6 different top peaks of the mountains. You see that in Scarab you have basic tools how to get someone to get connected with Colombia or to themselves or to a story with different paint schemes.
In Arvipana, with my bicycle, I go to the mountain west. This is the mountain west. Everybody call me Quintana. Quintana like the real.
After a trip into Medellin to visit one of the slums that saw brutal violence between drug cartels and the government 20 years ago, and a real immersion into culture and colour and vibrancy of this amazing city, my bike was ready. And here she is. What a beauty! The Santa Rosa Integrated. Built from oversized Columbus tubing, with an oversized head tube and full internal routing. Not something you often see on a steel bike, is it? And the finish, well, it has me blown away. I had a few ideas about colours and inspirations. I've always loved a fade, and I asked for something understated yet flamboyant. A tricky balance, I know, but I think it perfectly meets the brief. It's one of the prettiest bikes I've ever set my eyes on. I love the proportions of the bike too. Almost level top tube, no drop rear stays, chunky chain stays. It looks solid, purposeful, not skinny and flexy at all. I opted for a Shimano Ultegra Di2 group set because, well, money, and I prefer the grey to the death black of Dura-Race, my trusty Envy SES 4.5 wheels with 30mm Goodyear tyres, and a matching Envy handlebar and stem for the full internal routing, and a brand new wolf tooth headset. So, time to find out how this knee bike rides.
Okay, here we go. A first ride in Colombia. Quite an experience already. It's busy, it's noisy, it's vibrant, it's colourful. But the motorists are super respectful. They pass you safely, loads of distance. So yeah, clearly they're used to people cycling around here. Somebody was telling me that everybody knows there's cyclists around here, so that level of respect is super clear. And the weather is fantastic, it's really warm, and we're currently at an elevation of 2,100 meters, which is crazy for somebody who lives at sea level. Just blows my mind. So we're at 2,500 meters, so
I want to say we're a bit higher. At what altura estamos, Dani?
Like 2,500 meters.
I think a bit higher, like 700 here.
And 91. 591.
So 2,600.
So
Almost 2,600.
are you both used to riding at altitude? Is this easy for you riding at altitude? I'm finding it really tough with the breathing and the heart rates. Is this just normal?
This is normal. This is a regular day.
It starts to get tough for us. I want to say like above 3,500
Okay.
is when we found.
You might struggle, okay,
Yeah, you start to feel the deficit in there. Yeah.
I'll definitely struggle at 3,000.
Yeah.
And we're going to 4,500.
200. 4,200.
4,200.
Yeah.
A long way.
Long way up.
So where are we now? Where are we now? What's the view we're looking at?
So that's the east of Antioquia.
This is Santa Elena. It's
Elena.
a little town that it's like a village from Medellin.
Okay.
It's in the same municipality.
That's
Okay.
Medellin.
Okay.
And it overlooks what's called Oriente Antioqueño, which is east of Antioquia.
Okay.
This side of Antioquia. And it's a
That is in the valley. Is Medellin.
Yeah, mountainous area. Also,
Behind.
How good's the bike look?
oh, that's beautiful.
Natural backdrop.
Natural, just camouflaging.
Yes.
Natural camouflage behind all the greens back there.
Are you pleased with how the bike looks? Because every bike is unique almost. Is there a sense of pride when you see a bike being ridden?
I love bikes being ridden hard.
Yeah.
And I simply love like how each bike is different.
Okay.
Like when we're on a group ride, like you start checking all the bikes and there's none looking the same, and it's quite an extension of the personality of the rider. So
Okay.
it's pretty special. And definitely, I don't think I've seen a ugly bike come out of the shop. We have not let that happen.
you won't let that happen,
no,
yeah?
no, it's gonna be like no, that's not happening under our watch. Yeah, so we're super happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, I'm super pleased with how it looks. It looks
That's
amazing.
great to hear. Great to hear. Now it's gonna be time to properly ride it. We're base camp 2 now.
Base camp 2, okay. So it gets harder.
It's just gonna get harder. Yeah.
300 meters higher than yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Well, this is
Baby steps, and then a big step.
It's really nice to ride in Colombia on a Colombian bike as well. There's a nice sort of synergy between the two.
I think it's a unique mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, a unique mix that's hard to beat. And I mean, if you come to Colombia, you have to ride a Colombian bike. There's no other way around.
Colombia typically has a mild climate with a temperature dictated by your elevation. Around Medellin, where we're mostly riding, it's a very pleasant 22 degrees, often called the eternal spring. But as a tropical country, Colombia does see rain, and when it rains, boy, does it really rain.
Well, that's some crazy rain. Came out of nowhere. Wasn't it? Pretty intense.
Colombia, it's beautiful.
Well, it's not cold. It's warm.
I'm a little chilly.
Yeah, well, you need a jacket.
on.
Is this rain fairly typical? Oh yeah, it's always either raining or about to rain. Those are the 2 seasons in here.
Okay.
It's stopping. It's stopping now.
It's very hot. Very hot. Okay. Gracias. It's very hot. Yeah. Ow. Put my shoes.
Yeah. Should I put my rain jacket up? No, it's only gonna get warmer.
Well, that was the most intense downpour I've been in quite a while. Just came out of nowhere. Super heavy rain, couldn't see where I was going, dark as well, massive trucks coming up the other side of the road, overtaking as well, so it's super hairy, but as quick as the rain came, it's gone and stopped. Got hot coffee to warm up, we're taking shelter. Yeah, quite an adventure so far.
Some of you might know I'm partial to Belgian beer or 3, so I was very surprised indeed to find a Belgian brewery right next door to Scarab HQ. And speaking to the founder, I was able to find out more about why cycling is so important to Colombians.
It's been pretty determined by its past, and it has definitely have a lot to do with mountains. So here, if you don't climb, you really you did nothing. So you once you take your bike, you're just looking for which is the climb or how many meters are gonna climb today. It is very enjoyable. Now it's having something that we love and that we promote, which is combine it with good beer, which is what we do here in Torre Alta. But we mostly love to enjoy the rides.
Any tips for me? Something not used to altitude.
Yeah. Start early. Yeah. That way you could have a better weather and not too hot. Then enjoy the views. It's so beautiful that you might not feel your legs burning. Yeah. It's gonna be too high, so even if you feel like you do more and push harder, don't do it. Yeah, keep it easy.
I had no idea what to expect of Colombia, other than the stereotypes that we sort of all know. But it's definitely a lovely place to be. It's colourful, it's vibrant, it's noisy right now, next to a busy road, but it's safe. The motorists are super respectful of cyclists. I don't feel at risk of riding even on a busy road like this one here. Somebody was telling me that everybody knows a cyclist around here, so that level of respect is super clear. The roads are super smooth as well. No potholes, cracks, broken tarmac, silky smooth. And the bike, well, rides like a dream. Silky smooth, super stiff, solid, reassuring, and it looks bloody fantastic as well.
There will be a full review on the bike here on Just Ride Bikes very soon, but in the meantime, why not watch my video from tackling the world's highest climb in Colombia on screen right now.